Hi, this is Mr. Connolly. I'm going to be taking you through today's lesson. Okay, what we're going to be doing today is we're going to be creating our product in Photopea. Now, you've all been given a specific brief, and the example I'm going to be creating today is generic. So you must make sure that as you create your product today, that you have got your visualization diagram in front of you that you created in the previous lesson. If you haven't got it, don't worry, but obviously you're going to be creating your design from scratch. And also make sure you're aware of the brief that you're going to be designing for. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to swap over to Photopea. Now, in this last week's lesson, you've been spending time skilling up on how to use Photopea. Okay, what I'm going to go over today is the basics and show you an example of me creating a product. Okay, feel free to add in the skills that you learned in the previous lessons into your work as we go along. Now, the first thing I want to do is I want to set up my document. So to do that, I'm going to go File, I'm going to go New. Okay, I'm going to give my project a name. Okay, I'm going to be creating a safety poster. Okay, obviously you're going to be creating for whatever brief you've been asked to create for. I'm going to go to the print option and I'm going to set it to A4. Okay, and then I'm going to click Create up here. Okay, now what I want to do before we move any further, because a lot of people have struggled with saving their work and then exporting an image of their work, so I just want to go through how to do this in Photopea. Okay, so if you want to save your work, and this is what you should be doing as you're going along, okay, and if you say in a couple of days time I want to come back to your work and re-edit it again, this is the file that you'll open. So to do that, we save the PSD file. So we just go File, Save as PSD, okay, and there you go, it's downloaded our file straight to the computer. Okay, now if I wanted to open that file up in the future, all I do is I would load up Photopea. Okay, so I've loaded it up here. I'll just go File, Open. Okay, go to your Downloads folder. It always saves it to your Downloads folder. And I'm just going to go to Safety Poster. Okay, and you'll see then that it's opened up my file. There you go, ready to go. Obviously, we've not done very much to it yet. Now, when you've finished your product and you want to export your work as an image, okay, just going to put a little bit of work in here so we've got something on our screen. There we go. So I want to export this as an image. What I do is I go File, I go Export As. Okay, you can choose PNG, JPEG, okay, or GIF if you wanted to, but I'm going to choose it as a JPEG. Okay. And remember, you probably have PNG if you had a transparent background. So, and then obviously when you want to save it, just click the save box here and it'll download the image as a JPEG. Now, if you were, just to go over what I was just saying there, if you were to want to, if you had a transparent image, okay, so I wanted to save, just a new layer in, so I wanted to save that, okay. Okay, so you've just got the green line and the background would be invisible. That's when you would save it as a PSD file. Okay, so what I want to do now is I'm just going to undo my last moves because I was just messing about. Okay, so go to your history window up here, just go to, and you can click through all your last moves. I'm just going to click to open. Okay, so we're back to where we start. Now, another little thing I want you to do before we move forward is set up your arrow tool. So just go to the arrow tool, okay. Now by default, these two boxes are not ticked, but by having these boxes ticked, it will make your life a lot easier, and you'll see why in a second. Okay, so can I just ask that you just pause the video now, okay, set your document up, so go File, New, set it up to the size that you've been asked to set it up, and then just click on the arrow tool and make sure you've got auto select and transform controls ticked. Okay, pause the video and unpause it when you've done it. Okay, so the reason that I asked you to tick these two boxes is because when you've got layers on your image, okay, so I've got 3 layers, if you have this box ticked, whenever you click on an object, and you'll notice in layers it's selecting, you can select and move that object. Okay, so it's great for being able to edit your work quickly. Okay, now the reason I got you to select the transform tool is it actually lets you resize an image. So if I want to resize an image, I just simply click on it, go down to the handle, and I can drag it. Okay, if I hover just around the edge of the square, I can spin it. Okay, and then when I'm happy, I can just click off it. Okay, beautiful. But we're not creating squares today, so I'm going to get rid of these. So just click on the layer I want to get rid of. I can right click and I can go delete. Or another shortcut is to click on the layer you want, go down to the little bin here. Okay, click the bin and it will delete the layer. If you want to add a new layer in, you can click on that layer there. Okay, so say I want to do some painting. Paint. Okay, I could then go, oh, that looks really rubbish. You can click on the layer, click on the bin, and it's gone. Okay, so we're going to go on to create our poster now. And before we start, we need to create what we call a print margin. And what a print margin is basically a guide. It won't it won't show up on the finished product, but it will mean that when we're creating our poster, that all the text and the content will appear as we want it to. Okay, so to do it, I go to View, Rulers, and you'll notice that your rulers appear on the side. Okay, then get your arrow tool, go to click on your ruler, actually, so see where the mouse is actually hovering on the ruler itself, hold the mouse button down, keep it held down, and drag the guide off, and you want to have it just about maybe a centimetre off, like half a centimetre off the edge, so it looks something along the lines of this. And like I say, when you actually save the file, the guides don't show up, but they're just so when you're putting your content on, it makes sure that any text that we add will be within this blue square. Okay, and what that'll mean is when we print it, we won't cut any of the text off, because sometimes printers are a little bit naughty and they'll cut off the edge of your image. Okay, and it just makes the text clearer, gives it more clarity, makes it easier to read, makes your image look better when it's laid out. So can you now pause the video and can you set up your rulers? And just remember to do it, View, Rules to bring them up, and then just hover over the ruler with the arrow tool, hover over the ruler, hold the mouse button down, keep it pressed down as you drag off, and then let go. Okay, so just pause the video, and when you've done that, restart. Okay, now the first thing I'm going to show you how to do is how to paste a background in. So what I've done is I've gone on to Pexels, which is a great royalty-free website, okay, and I've searched for clinical, okay, because I'm making a safety poster, and I've found a background that I want to use. Now there are 2 ways to get this background into Pexels. I am going to show you both of them now. The easiest way is to copy and paste the image. Okay, so I'm just going to click on it to get into the nice big view of it. I'm going to right click, I'm going to go to copy image, I'm going to go back to Photopea, I'm going to go edit, and I'm going to go paste. Now the first time you do this, a little box will pop up in Chrome saying, do you allow Photopea to copy and paste images? You need to click allow. Now if you don't click allow, okay, nothing will happen, and then when you try and copy and paste again, nothing will happen. Now you might notice that there's a little black cross up here, and if that's the case, double click it and you should be able to change the settings to allow. If that's still not working, if you click on your 3 dots up here in Chrome, go to settings, go to site settings, okay, so site settings, then you'll need to go and find Photopea. Okay, so I can see it's there. I think you can search for it. Let's search for it, just show you how it works. So Photopea, click on it, click on the one that's just underneath it. Okay, and what you'll need to do is you'll need to scroll down to the bit where it says clipboard and make sure it says allow. Once you've done that, you can close down the settings tab, go back into Photopea, okay, and it should edit, paste. Okay, now I'm just going to resize my image to make it fill up my page. There it is, looking beautiful. Okay, remember, to do that you need to make sure that you have got the transform controls ticked. Okay, now the next thing I want to do is I want to have a main image on my page. Okay, so what I've done for this one is I'm going to go to Pixabay, and this time I'm going to show you the other way to get your images into your work. So I'm going to download it. So search for the image, I've got a mask. I'm going to click download. I'm going to download this as let's download it as a PNG. Okay. Oh, it's not going to let me. Let's download this one. A bit naughty today. Okay, so it's let me download it there, so I've downloaded, and you can register and then it will allow you to download the full size one. Okay, and the advantage of having the full size one is obviously it's better quality. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to show you the other way to get an image in, and to do that we go File, Open and Place. So File, Open and Place. Okay, this is the file that I've just downloaded. Okay, for some reason it's put it to the bottom of the layer, so I'm just going to drag it up to the top. Okay, so there's our image. I want it to be a little bit bigger than that, so I'm just going to resize it. And to keep it in proportion, I'm holding the Shift key down. Okay, and I'm just going to make this slightly bigger. Okay, so I'm just making it slightly bigger. That is great. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to rasterize it, but there's a problem. If I go and get my magic wand tool from this third tool down, and I select the magic wand, and I try and click on the shape in its current state, okay, it's selected the bit that I want to delete, but if I press the delete key, it says smart object must be rasterized first. So to do that, what you need to do is you need to right click on your image, on the layer, on the virus layer, and you need to go rasterize. Okay, and now if I get my magic wand tool, I can click on the shape. Okay, and if I hit the delete key now, the background goes. Okay, now what we're left with are these flashy lines, and these are called our selection lines. Okay, so now I've got rid of what I want, I'm just going to press Control and D on the keyboard, and that stands for deselect, and the lines are gone. Okay, now this bit here at the bottom I don't want, so I'm going to get my rectangle marquee tool. I'm going to select over the drawing, okay, and I'm going to just hit the delete key. Okay, now again I don't want this selection box here now, so I'm going to deselect it, so we press Control and D. Now what I want to do is I'm going to get my graphic, which is here. I'm going to get it into my Petri dish, and what I want it to do is I want it to appear almost in the dish. Okay, I've got a little bit there that I've not cropped off. It's not a problem, we can deal with that later on. Okay, it's not perfect, but it will do. Okay, you can use your arrow keys to further move the object around the screen if you want to just get it perfect. Okay, so we've got our graphic in there, looking fantastic. So what I'm going to do now is I want to add some text into our graphic. So I'm going to get the T tool down here. I'm going to go up to the top. I'm going to click on the screen and we're going to add in some text. Now what you'll notice is you've got the font size here. Now it's quite a big poster, so I'm going to make my font size large. Okay, you can also change the font style. Find one that looks fairly serious. This is for our warning sign, and there is some really cool fonts that you can find in Photopea. The one I'm going to use is got Reboot. Right, there we go. I'm going to use Reboto. Okay, and I'm just going to write my text in. Okay, and I want to put warning as a large word. So what I'm going to do now is, now I've wrote the word warning, I'm going to get the arrow tool and I'm just going to stretch out, and I'm holding shift down and it stops it going all wonky. Okay, and then underneath I just want to add some more text. Okay, so I'm just going to click with the T tool, with the text tool, just click underneath. Okay, the size is going to be a little bit smaller on this one, so we do it about 150. And what I did there was I just double, when you're doing your text, if you want to edit a particular bit of text, if you double click the little T here in the window, it'll let you jump straight to it and to edit it. Okay, so again, and I should have said this more often during this video, what I'd like you to do is I would like you to pause the video and create your poster as you're doing this. And if you are working with me, it's fine, but just remember to watch for about 30 seconds, pause, then do yourself. I don't want you to try and remember how to do it all from scratch, because it's quite hard to do that unless you're a genius, which I'm not. Okay, so there's our text there. Now, it actually looks alright in black, but what I want to show you how to do is to change the colour. So if you want to change the colour, let's do it on the warning text. I'm going to double click the T. What it's done is selected all of the text. I can then go up to my colour box up here, and you can choose a colour. Okay, but another thing you can use is what we call the colour picker, and I'm going to pick a colour off this glove. Okay, so if you notice when I click on the glove, it automatically selects the colour that I've clicked on here. So when I click OK now, our text has gone dark blue. It's quite hard to see. Let's do this text under here. So I'm going to go, this is COVID secure. Click on the colour box. Remember, hover outside the window. Let's see, it just might be a little bit too light to see, but we'll have a look. Click OK. Okay, so it's quite hard to see the text. Now there's a couple of things I could do. I could change the colour again, okay, which I'm probably going to do. But let's just try something first, and what we'll try and do is add an effect to it. So to add an effect in Photopea to a layer, and you can do this both to images, so if I add one to this image here, right click on the layer, go to blending options, okay, drop shadow. Okay, and what it should do is it should have made, and you can just see it around the edge here, it's made the shape have a slight shadow behind it. And you can, if you click the word drop shadow, you can change the settings of your shadow, so you can make it either harder to see, okay, by changing the opacity, and opacity is basically a word that means see-through, so by making it more see-through or less see-through. Okay, now I also want to add an effect to my text. So I'm going to again go onto the layer, right click on it, let's just get rid of that, right click on the layer, blending options, drop shadow, and you can see there it's quite dark, the shadow behind the text, so I'm just going to adjust the opacity just to make it slightly less. Okay, and I'm going to do the same thing for this. So right click on the layer, blending options, okay, drop shadow. Okay, remember, click on the text. You need to click on the word drop shadow if you want to change the actual colour itself. And another little trick here is I'm going to change the colour, so I'm going to click colour overlay. Okay, click on the word colour overlay, go to the box red, and let's go for dark blue. And then click the box OK, and click the box OK, and we've got our text in. Okay, so the next thing I'm going to do now, and just before I mentioned that website I used was Pixabay, which is another royalty-free website. Okay, so the next one I'm going to use, is, okay, so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go on to Google. Now, before you use Google image search, okay, I'm sure you've all used it before, but before you use it, you should really click Tools, okay, here, and then you should go to, make sure you've set the image to large, okay, and if you're going to use this for anything to do with school or anything commercial, you should really also set the usage rights and set it to Creative Commons licenses. Now, because this is a bit of fun, okay, I'm not going to do that today, but if I was going to do it for my coursework, say, I would set it to the Creative Commons licenses. Okay, so I've searched for stay alert. I'm going to use this message. Okay, here's the picture that I'm going to use. Okay, so I'm going to right click, I'm going to copy the image, I'm going to go back into Photopea, and I'm going to go edit, I'm going to go paste. Okay, I'm going to move my image down to here. Okay, and I'm going to just resize it to make it slightly smaller. Okay. So we've created the basics of a movie poster there. Okay. Now there are other things that you can look at. You can, for instance, use the layer blend modes. Okay, so if I put this image here currently on top of my mask world, okay, my virus icon here in the layers, at the moment it's on top, it's protruding it. But if I go on to and I go to normal, okay, so I've got the layer 2 layer selected. If I go to normal and I set it to multiply, you'll notice that you can merge 2 layers together, and there are, if you go through the layer blend modes, and I'm just using the arrow keys to skip through them here, there are lots of cool ones that you can have a play around with and have a go with. So we use the layer blend modes if you want to blend 2 layers together. Okay, so that's something that if you want to have a bit of an experiment with, you can have a look at. Okay, for now I don't want to do that. Another thing you could have a look at, having a go with, is the filters. So select the layer you want to add the filter to, go up to filter. Okay, if you go to filter gallery, okay, there are some cool filter effects that you can add. That was quite cool, we'll use that one. Okay, you can click through the different options and have a little bit of an experiment and change the settings. Okay, there are other filters that you could use. So for example, if you go to blur, okay, I'm going to use a Gaussian blur here. Okay, and you can change the settings so you can make it look blurry. Okay, I do apologise, because I'm recording this as well. It's Being a little bit slow on my computer. Okay, but we're not going to use a blur here, so rather than crash it, I'm just going to close it off, but obviously you can see where we get the blur tool from. Okay, and there's also another cool tool that you could have a look at if you've not had a look at it before, called Liquify. Now Liquify is good if you want to mess around with somebody's face, and basically what you can do is you can then drag the image out, okay, and you can mess around with it and do some quite cool things. Okay, but we're not going to use that today. They're just things that you could have a look at if you wanted to have a go on your poster. So what I'm going to do is just move this down here now. Okay, so this is my finished warning poster. Now what I need to do is I'll need to save it, and when we save a file in Photoshop we always save it twice. So the first one is we go File, okay, Save as PSD. Okay, so it's downloaded our completed image there. Okay, and then I'm also going to save the output file. Now the output file is the file that you can send to me, your teacher, or you could send it to your friend, or you could send it in an email, and the person at the other end wouldn't need any specialist software to be able to open it up. Okay, whereas if I save them the PSD file, they would need to have Photopea or Photoshop available to be able to open up the file, and obviously it contains all the layers. So what we're going to do is we're going to save our JPEG, our output file. So we go File, Export as, JPEG. On this box, just click Save. And you'll notice now that it saves our JPEG poster. Okay, now just to show you, obviously, how you would then get your poster back in once you've saved it, if you click on the cross, okay, I want to come back and edit my safety poster again. All I do now is go File, Open, go and find my safety poster. There it is. You can also see the JPEG. Now, just while we do this, if you look at the difference in file size as well, the JPEG is a single layer file. It's 344 kilobytes, whereas the PSD file is the editable file with all the layer information in. It's almost 18 megabytes. So you can see the difference in image files. So I'm just going to click on that one and open it up now. It's just churning it away. And sometimes it takes a while to open up, so you just have to bear with it while it loads. Okay, so there we can see it's opened up again and we've got all our layers back and we can edit it. Okay, so what your job is to create your own piece of work now using the brief that we've set you. Okay, make sure that you use your visualization diagram. Make sure that you set your size up correctly and you use your guides. And if you do need any help, I will be available to support you and Mr. Chatton and Mr. Peak in Teams. Okay, see you next time. Goodbye.